Hello, folks. It's Zack Cimini here and Eric Wong out here in Las Vegas. The Summer League action is taking place. It's a little bit different for us to be doing a podcast this time of year. Definitely, usually around the football season, I'm invited on a few shows and whatnot, and I haven't done anything on a permanent basis in a long time. But me and Eric have been talking the last year, mainly through email, a couple Skype sessions and whatnot. And Summer League was when we made a decision to make sure we meet. Very similar backgrounds and the styles that we choose to do as far as handicapping and with fantasy sports. But I want to make sure from both sides of things, you've got a great establishment on your website as well as I do, that we introduce each other. So without further ado, Eric, if you want to give a little introduction on yourself to some listeners that maybe need a little bit more background on yourself.
Yeah, what's up? This is Eric. I run rotoevil.com, top fantasy basketball website, provide draft guide information, rankings, projections, all the top sleeper picks and all that good stuff, helping people win big in their fantasy basketball leagues. In Vegas for Summer League for the first time. Pretty fun to be here. And
mainly the information, we're hoping to touch base on a couple of hot topics here with the NBA. But myself, my forte is mainly handicapping. Eric knows the background, and I did a lot of fantasy sports back in the day. Kind of gravitated away from that, but it goes hand in hand. It really does. I think I get a lot of my insight and tips from as I still play Money League fantasy sports, and you have to have that hand in hand if you're handicapping. There's a lot of strategy that can use to help you against the spread. But my website's notjustagame.com, and you can find me on some other websites out there. But yeah, we want to touch base on the Summer League, I guess, to get things started. Eric was out there today. I've been watching it mainly on TV. I actually haven't been down there just yet, even though I'm based here in Las Vegas. But there's a few Summer League impressions you want to talk about. Maybe a few sleepers, and also we just heard the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, they made a big splash by bringing over Kevin Durant, but one of their second-round draft picks, Patrick McCaw, who actually played at UNLV, he has a 2-year guaranteed contract. Obviously, their roster is a bit heavy, but there's some opportunities out there with some of the veterans that have been signed elsewhere. Leo Barbosa, off the top of my head, and a couple others, Maurice Spades. Obviously,
Brandon Rush is gone. Yeah, McCaw's a good pickup for them. He looks to kind of fit the mold of the long, versatile defenders, athletic, who can shoot the three, which allows them to do all these defensive switches, which has been a big part of their success on the defensive end. And I thought he looked really good today going against the 76ers. An athletic kid who can shoot it, and he seems to have a bright future, so I'm happy with that pickup for the Warriors.
Yeah, and I watched him a couple of times at UNLV and even on TV, but at one point last year, I think it was his first 20 games of the year, he had 3.5 steals a game, so he's definitely someone that can come off the bench. He was pretty stout from the three-point line as well. But we'll see how his shooting carries over, but with Kevin Durant bringing him under his wing, yeah, he has to feel comfortable with going into that Warriors environment and situation with their winning franchise.
He'll be learning from the best, that's for sure.
Speaking of the Golden State Warriors now, we kind of had a discussion yesterday on this where I think the situation might not be as perfect as people see, but you see it the other way. I know a lot of people out there in Vegas are taking the under on the prop if they will topple their win total of last year. I think it's like negative or minus 140 in that fashion. Do you think they can get it done, or do you think they're going to have some struggles? Because we've seen this before where these super teams are put together and it doesn't go as planned, right off the bat anyways.
Right. There's some concern as a Warriors fan, being from the Bay Area. But, at the same time, a lot of people didn't expect the Warriors to repeat their success from the season before. And while they didn't with the championship this season, they came pretty damn close. And they, of course, set the record for most wins in a season. And adding Durant to that mix just makes their offense so much more potent. Barnes, I was a fan of Harrison Barnes, but pretty inconsistent still, and not as aggressive, of course, as Durant. And I think Durant's better defensively.
When he wants to be.
Right. I think he's ready to just step up his all-around game, being on this new team and in a new system where I think he'll be happier playing for the Warriors.
So 2 points, I know, because you got more lending hand on this than I would. With Kevin Durant, with Steph Curry, obviously, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. You kind of saw now I saw this in the playoffs myself, that Draymond Green kind of got in the way a little bit with taking too many shots, I felt. And obviously Harrison Barnes, he was going 0 for 8, taking too many shots. And it seemed like Steph Curry didn't want to at times. Maybe he was hurt or whatever it may be. But do you think Kevin Durant can come in there, a guy that was a high-volume shooter, obviously with Russ Westbrook, and mesh with those guys from that standpoint?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Durant can play off the ball. He had to kind of with playing with Westbrook because Westbrook needs the ball in his hands so much. And so he can play off the ball, and they have so many weapons that, Draymond and Barnes felt like they had to shoot it when they were open, of course. Mm-hmm. But, if you leave Durant open, that's, a whole different story. And adding veterans like David West and Zaza Pachulia, I think, is really smart. They just know how to play the right way. Unselfish guys aren't going to complain about not getting shots or minutes or anything like that. So I think the Warriors are going to be just fine. And, why not? Why can't they win 74 games, win another championship?
And from, lastly, an injury standpoint, do you think these guys mentally – they're obviously going to play with that extra caution. I can't get hurt. And I've seen that also be a factor. Do you think the team can go through the season healthy?
Well, cross your fingers on Curry, especially after he got hurt in these playoffs. But, he'd been pretty healthy before that. And, they can afford to rest guys through minor injuries just because they have so much talent now.
Okay. And with the Summer League, we do touch base on that. I think it's growing. And what I like about it are so many college players from the past that obviously may be overseas. They're not going to be on the rosters, we know that. But they're overseas. It's a great opportunity for them. And I think the NBA does a great job, especially since Adam Silver became commissioner, of making it a better Summer League experience because the last 2-3 years it's grown. We're seeing a lot more teams play their key draft picks in these Summer League games. I know the Suns, and about halfway through, teams are going to sit those key players like Devin Booker, Justice Winslow, Josh Richardson. Teams are now sitting those key players, but we're still seeing if they're not showing their performance, kind of like preseason football, if they're not showcasing their abilities the way teams want to see, they're going to be back on that court, kind of like Dragon Bender and some of these other younger guys that aren't playing up to par. So they make sure that these guys are getting that experience until they show that, hey, it's worth sitting them down and getting some rest. So from that standpoint, I think Summer League is a key asset because you're going to see these same names at the end of the season, in the NBA regular season. James Ennis, who we were just talking about before the podcast, who was a key contributor for the Pelicans last year, he crushed it the last 2 Summer Leagues for the Miami Heat. A guy that just got a big contract from the Atlanta Hawks, Kenny Bazemore. Same thing with when he was on the Golden State Warriors. He got his launching pad experience by breaking out in the Summer League. So what do you think from that standpoint? Does it help you towards the end of the main money leagues in the NBA on picking up some of these guys, or do you stay with the key names?
Oh, at the end of the season, I mean, you just got to go with whoever's getting minutes because so many stars are resting and so many of these guys who weren't really playing at all are suddenly getting big minutes for whatever reason. And, you got to have the intel on those guys, and that's where Summer League comes into play because if you're paying attention, you can see the flashes of talent and know that they might not get minutes or even make a roster at the beginning of the season, but just have that back in the back of your mind for later in the season when they get their chance. And it's definitely a good thing to use Summer League for, just scouting for those type of players.
Okay. Well, we have a couple other main topics we wanted to discuss. Obviously, free agency. We touched on the Golden State Warriors, so I don't think we need to talk about Kevin Durant anymore. But there were a lot of peculiar signings. Obviously, the inflated salary cap with the TV deal is largely to do with that.